how long ago? This was like 2 years ago. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. So it was like 2 years ago. It was a regular night. I had not been talking to my dad. Like he wasn't even in my mind. And I fell asleep. And I, in the dream, woke up in this big white room. He was sitting at the bar. And it was like a bar in the middle of a big white room. And it was very like what you would see on TV, where it was just like an endless white room. But there was just this little bar. And it's kind of crazy because I always thought like how much I would have loved to like get a drink with my dad or something, because that never happened. I never got to like sit down and really just shoot the shit. I always wanted to be able to sit down and have like a conversation with him, like get a drink. And I think that's where that came from. So I was sitting at this bar and he was like 2 chairs away from me. He was literally telling me about how time exists on the other side. He told me that he couldn't come see me earlier because there were things that he was currently doing, and that he tried to explain to me how time, it's not linear, it's all happening at the same time, like it's all on top of each other. Like instead of being this way, it's this way. So it's all happening at once at the exact same time somehow. He was in the 1920s and he was like 6 years old and he wanted to be in movies and he was like living out his dream of being like a movie star or something, but he was only 5. And so that's why I wasn't feeling him often, is because he was living out this life that he needed to live in the past. And that's what blew my mind. I was like, you're in the past? Like how, what do you mean you were reincarnated into the past? And he tried to explain it to me more, and I'm sure that he did a good job, but I'm only able to tell you certain parts of this dream because as we had this conversation, it lasted 3 hours. He told me some cool ass shit, okay? That's all I remember, was hearing detailed things about the universe and how it works, how our paths are like part of our like soul's journey, and reincarnation is real. And he was, you know, going through all these different lives in order to be a better person. And he apologized to me for not being able to tell me all these things. And he said like, he told me that the information would be available to me as time passed, and as I was ready to be open to it, I would remember things. And then this is a crazy part. He looks to me and he goes, okay, you're about to wake up now, which is crazy to hear when you're dreaming. He's like, you're about to wake up now and I need you to call your aunt. I need you to call, I think it was my sister. I have a fuzzy memory because he told me, you're going to forget all of this and I need you to wake up and right now call your aunt, call your sister, tell them everything that I told you and tell them that I love them. And then he told me that he loved me and he hugged me. And I woke up and I called my aunt and I told her everything, and I called my sister and I told her everything, and then I fell back asleep. And I fell back asleep for 3 hours. And then I woke up to my aunt calling me, because I called him at 5 a.m. Like I didn't call him at a normal hour. I fell back asleep and then I woke up at like 9 to my aunt calling me, and she's like, how are you doing, honey? And I was like, I'm fine. I'm like, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a while. And she's like, no, you just called me. I was like, what do you mean I just called you? She's like, you don't remember anything? And I was like, I don't remember anything. What do you mean I just called you? She's like, check your log. I had called her and told her about the entire dream and everything that Dad said, fell back asleep and couldn't remember a single thing of it. But she recited it all to me. And as she was telling me, I was like remembering, but it's almost like there's parts of my brain that locked it up. So every now and then I'll remember like little tidbits of the dream, but crazy. Oh, and he also told me, there was the point to this story, because somebody had asked like about making a connection with their dad after they passed. He told me that that souls, the way he explained it to me was without words, and I think that's why it makes it so difficult. It was like an understanding that I understood from him, and it was without words. So putting it into words is kind of hard. But he told me that our souls, when we pass over, are not a singular thing the way we think they are. Like the way that we see our bodies as being something separate from everything around us. It's like this is how we perceive, so it's hard to see it from another perspective. But he was trying to explain it to me, that the soul was something like much bigger and expansive and without constraint, that he was reincarnated and living that life in the early 1900s, but he was also there for me when I needed him, as the dad I knew before he passed. And he would be there and is always there for me. There's a part of him that's still there with me at this time, in this dimension, and also living that life. He's in more than one place because they're capable of doing that or something. I don't know if that makes sense, but... And then that expanded my entire idea of paranormal stuff and how paranormal stuff is happening, because what never sat right with me in haunted spaces, or when someone offs themselves and they're like trapped there forever, that never sat well with me. I never liked the idea of, there's so many tropes, but like the trope of going into like a haunted hotel and somebody off themselves. It's typically always a woman who's sad because a man doesn't love her. Like there's that story, and she offed herself in the bathtub and she's just haunting the hotel crying forever. That never sat well with me. I was like, there's just no way. I don't believe in a world where somebody would do something to escape their pain like that and be stuck forever. So from what I've gathered is that they're fragments of us, and this theoretical person who offed themselves in the bathtub, it was very traumatic, and there is a part of their energy, a part of their soul that is there and is tied to it, but that's not their soul, that's not their whole being. Their whole being isn't trapped there in that purgatory. So when I go into investigations, I know people like the idea of like helping somebody move on, which I am open to, but I think it's so much more complex than that, like echoes of the energy. But it's more than an echo, it is still a part of you. Like it is a part of your intelligence and of your soul. And I think when I go into these places where like people are like, help them move on, I don't think it's about them moving on. I think it's about, when maybe I'm comparing it to life now. When we go through something in life that's very traumatic, we tend to ruminate on it. It stays with us, it's in our body always. And when I started doing trauma therapy, I'm not going to say exposure therapy by any means, but I would purposely put myself into situations that were triggering once I was in a healthy mind state to do so that I would become not desensitized to it, but I would heal myself. I think that these people that have led these like traumatic deaths are trapped there in a way, but only in a way that they are working it out, the way that we would be working it out if something traumatic happened to us. So when I go into a place, I'm not going into a place being like, I'm going to say all these scriptures and you're going to move on to heaven because you're trapped here and I'm the only person that can help you. I go into a place thinking, I'm here for you and I want to listen to you. And whatever it is that you need from me, I'll hopefully be able to give to you so that you can move from this place that you are now into wherever you are. Because I feel like some parts of us do stay in places that we've been on purpose. And even if it was a traumatic event, it was a part of us. It was like a part of how we were molded into who we are, and sometimes we stay there. So it's very complicated. The energy from the experience is trapped and the soul isn't trapped. That's what I'm trying to explain, is that the soul isn't a singular thing, that there are like fragments of us that are, when I say fragments, it's hard to wrap your mind around that still being a part of something, because fragment to us would be like a piece of something that's like separate from self. But I'm talking about like trying to explain how the soul could be beyond limit and in more than one place at once. Fractals is a good way to put it. If time is on top of itself constantly, and if everything is happening at once, not at once, but accessible that way, then it could be possible that your soul could be in more places at once. Like only in certain situations, though, only certain hauntings, intelligent hauntings, where you can speak to the spirit, something that isn't a thought form that's been programmed, something that is truly, actually an intelligent haunting, which is very rare. I very rarely find intelligent hauntings, by the way. It's usually something that was programmed because people walk in giving those thoughts to it, or it's like residual. It's just like memory trapped in the elements around us. It's so hard for me to try to explain how the soul is more than just something, because we're here and we feel like this is it. This is our soul, So it's easy for us to try to like put that knowledge into our idea of what a soul could be, but it's definitely spanning across something beyond time. So, like, people are saying that's trapped, but it isn't, though. I've got a better way to describe it. Your brain. What if your soul is like how your memories work? You can access those memories. Those memories are there as if they are there, as if you're time traveling. You can think back to a time when something traumatic happened in your life, and it can affect you now as if you're still there. That is like what I'm talking. Oh my god, my light just turned out. That was crazy. My light just turned off. Have a good night. But like, our brains are capable of holding an entire lifetime of memories. And if the memories are lifetimes, or the memories or a brain could be considered the soul. So yes, there is a part of my brain that is stuck in time, and that's the memory that I have. So in relation to the soul not being one specific thing that is in one specific area at all times, the soul can also be in different places in different time. Does that make sense? So yes, stuck. Yes, stuck. But it's like as if a memory that we're accessing, but it's our soul. Oh my god, I love that I get to nerd out on this stuff in life. This is fun. How did you stumble on that theory? I feel dumb. Oh, I don't know if you were here earlier with my conversation with my dad. My dad came to me in a dream and like told me that. I came to it because he came to me in a dream and told me that time doesn't exist, and he was reincarnated in like the early 1900s, and I had a hard time understanding how he could be there in the dream talking to me, how he could be there when I ask him to be there now in my life as I'm living, because he does visit me, and also be reincarnated in the past. And that knowledge brought me to the conclusion that the soul is so much more than we're even capable of fully understanding. We have more of these yapping sessions. Honestly, I'll come on live and yap all day long. I love this stuff. I'm not stuck as in trapped physically, but stuck as in ruminating on a tragic event. It's yes to both, though, because if your memory can be accessed in a way, because there are people who have flashbacks, okay? There are people that are physically back there, like they feel it, they're there when those events happen to them because they're so intense. You're accessing this memory that happened to you, but you're there, but you're here now at the same time. And that's the closest way I could try to describe how the soul outside of ourselves isn't contained in a way that we would believe it to be. Like, we can be in more than one place. It is all one thing happening at the exact same time. And time is what messes us up, because we see time as this linear thing. It's hard not to see it that way. It's hard not to organize. So stuck isn't the right word, and fragment isn't the right word. I haven't been able to describe it properly enough to find the right words. Essence, because it's still you. It's more than your essence. It's more than just a fragment of memory. These intelligent hauntings, these people that we're speaking to, are able to tell us about their family, about what it is that ails them. They're feeling what it is that they felt at the time, and they're walking around reliving it. They're still there for some reason. And my thoughts as to why they're still there lays with the idea that there are parts of me that are still in traumatic events in my own mind. Like, I'm still there. There are things that, even without me consciously being aware of it, I am still subconsciously in these thought patterns and things that have happened to me in the past that shaped me to who I am today. Dead can get stuck, even though they have passed. Unfinished business. Unfinished business, yeah. I remember that was like my first way of describing why I thought spirits got stuck, was unfinished business. But it became much more than that, because it wasn't business. Like, they didn't have things that they needed to do. They were there because something happened to them. Like, they were victims of something, and it imprinted a part of them there. So like, and they're not there forever. They're not there forever. I think it very rarely happens, and I think it was only happened in certain situations. How some spaces have echoes, sometimes leaving energy behind. I felt there. Yeah, so residual energy and residual hauntings are very fascinating. I know that science has proven that water can hold memory. They're only like a rock skip and a jump away from proving that wood and other limestone, different types of materials can also capture energy. All the things that happened to me in life, like I was talking about before, I think allow me to access different types of residual energy and maybe resonate with spirits in a way that can be a lot deeper. I've explored the idea that a poltergeist isn't something evil, but has something to do that is actually connected to the people that are living there. You were just thinking about water memory? Yeah. But I think our energy, I think there's a name for it. It's like stone tape theory. Yeah, I think people that have been through a lot statistically have more paranormal occurrences in their life. People that have been through a lot. I'm just going to say that because I don't know, TikTok's going to like ban me for saying the wrong thing. But I think because we carry that like energy with us. Even if it's not in the forefront of you as a person, you're just able to feel these emotions differently. You trigger the hauntings more than somebody who hasn't. How do you keep the spirits from following you or sticking to you? Power of the mind, witchcraft. I'll yap forever if you bring up something like that. I literally can't shut up about it. I love you all. Sweet dreams. I'll see you again, okay?